A thread by Carlos Osuita. Carlos writes a thread in response to a Tim Pool video in which they talk about what would get them to vote for Trump. Thread for Tim Pool, Adam Krigler, and Sour Patch Lee DS, Lydia Morphine. Donald Trump deliberately played into the orange man bad narrative. I can't even list the reasons why, but I'll hit you with the most important ones. Trump is a student of General Wang Jingze, author of the 36 Stratagems. Chapter 5, Proximate Stratagems. Number 3, feign madness, but keep your balance. Hide behind the mask of a fool, a drunk, or a madman to create confusion about your intentions and motivations. Lure the opponent into underestimating your ability until they drop their guard. Trump also studied The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Let your plans be dark and impenetrable as night, and when you move, fall like a thunderbolt. Today, Trump fell like a thunderbolt. Administrations have been talking about infrastructure repair for decades. How did they always frame it? More money, investment. What did Trump do today that nobody expected? Wiped out all the regulations that prevented infrastructure repair. These regulations were put in place at the behest of lobbyists so that they could be hired to lobby for decades and get paid for every single second they worked. Now, they have no power. Yesterday, Trump fell like a thunderbolt. He announced that we've destroyed MS-13, arrested 15,000 and deported 20,000. The leadership is being nailed with federal terrorism charges. While everyone was screeching Orange Man bad and Trump was being all uncouth and tactless, Tim Pool, our country was changed from top to bottom. Do you genuinely prefer a corrupt, useless president who acts presidential? Really? I don't believe that. Trump also created a reverse honeymoon. Presidents bask in initial high approval ratings and then despair when their approval inevitably sinks. Trump started with a low approval rating and kept it low so that his idiot enemies wouldn't take him seriously. Trump does not have a conventional ego structure. He said in 1984 that his lifestyle was cute but meaningless. From the New York Times in 1984, The Expanding Empire of Donald Trump, also an audio version on this channel. There's an old Hollywood adage: actors who play villains are in real life the nicest people you'll ever meet, and actors who play good guys are real life monsters. I met Hank Garrett, the mailman in 3 Days of the Condor. Bodybuilder, martial artist. He wore massive padding in this scene because Redford pounded the hell out of him at Garrett's insistence. Look at him go. Nicest man in the world. He's 88 years old today and still going strong. William Smith, the blonde guy in Darker Than Amber. His career was this, obviously villain, link in the description, and everybody loved him. I could go on and on. What about the good guys? I'll give you just one example. James Stacey, on the right, who Tarantino immortalized in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. A beloved leading man. He lost his left arm and leg in a motorcycle accident at the height of his career. And he kept working. And he was also a convicted pedophile. It didn't bother his fans, including Tarantino. See, Stacey had tact. He was couth. So molesting a child could be forgiven. Trump lacks tact, but is saving the world. Burn him! Burn the witch! I remember people who play villains, but who aren't in real life. We all have our priorities. For some people, appearance is all that matters. I just have to go back to Hank Garrett. We had a great conversation about movie villains. I kiddingly told him that he'd given me nightmares for life, and he kiddingly apologized. When we shook hands, he looked deep into my eyes and thanked me for remembering him, for understanding the art in his performance, for acknowledging his indelible mark on film history. The obsession with appearance has ruined movies. Today's villains are so over the top that they're ridiculous. They'd last 3 seconds as professional killers. Hank Garrett understood that real fear comes from the banal suddenly becoming lethally dangerous. I didn't bother watching Joker. It was just another lecture, this one delivered with a high pitched scream. And Joker was not afflicted with a real mental condition. The movie was not made for me. Trump enjoys the fact that some people get him. His success depends on most people totally misreading him. But if you research him, you immediately see that the Trump who people dislike is a man who doesn't even exist. Trump is Operation Bodyguard made flesh. Bodyguard was the strategic deception the Allies used to fool the Germans into thinking we were going to invade at Calais instead of Normandy. Calais is at the top, and Normandy is at the bottom. The work put into carrying out the successful deception is almost impossible to grasp. Fake armies, fake radio traffic, fake coded messages, fake noises of tanks and marching soldiers broadcast into the countryside, a fake commander, Patton, and fake spies. All Trump has to do is tweet. The end result is the same. He has the power to cloud men's and women's minds. I've never seen anything like it. I'm a history major. My only explanation is that this is actually Armageddon, or Stephen King's The Stand. After Trump's reelection, the changes he makes will be too radical ever to reverse, and his enemies know that. Even people who aren't his enemies know that. So they're afraid of the unknown. I'm not religious, but I'm a theist. I believe in God. Minnie Louise Haskins has good advice in her poem, The Gate of the Year. And I said to the man who stood at the gate of the year, "Give me a light that I may tread safely into the unknown." And he replied, "Go out into the darkness and put your hand to the hand of God. That shall be to you better than light and safer than a known way." So I went forth, and finding the hand of God, trod gladly into the night, and he led me towards the hills and the breaking of the day in the lone east.